fitness, physical, mental, spiritual. Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis.
Thank you so much for joining another episode of Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Today we are going to be talking about your circle of friends, your circle of influence. I know, Jason, you like that title there, Circle of Friends, but who are you hanging out with and who are your influencers? Now, I'm not really referring to the influencers these days. My gosh, it's crazy to see that these kids can be on social media and call themselves influencers and they haven't done a thing. It's like, because they have a bunch of followers, now all of a sudden they're influencers. That's one thing. Of course, I'm not really referring to those people. I'm really kind of referring to kind of the good and bad influencers. Clearly, with regards to having an opportunity to better yourself and be the best person that you can be, you clearly want to surround yourself by good influencers. You want to be around people that support you and influence you and teach you. And the opposite is quite true as well. They say that you are who you hang out with. And if you're on the other end of the spectrum with regards to troublemakers or people who, don't really take life serious at all, I try not to take life too serious, but yes, I have to be disciplined and be serious at times, just to survive really. But with regards to, enjoying life, that's one thing. And so that's why I don't like to take life too serious, but definitely understand there's a difference. But with regards to guys that just don't do anything at all, you don't see much of an increase in their production. You don't see much of a future for them because they're stagnant. Nothing changes. And believe me, I'm not going to call out anybody on these things, of course, but I have people that I can remember and, from my childhood and remember from high school ages and dates back then, even some family members. I mean, again, it's not really necessarily their fault. I mean, I grew up in the Northwest and I got family in Idaho, and they kind of, they're up there and they don't leave, which is perfectly fine. They're content with what they're doing, and they're growing in their own little ways. But with regards to just kind of wanting more, and that's the other thing too, is if you got a passion for something, and you develop a passion by kind of being experienced in things. Sometimes it's on accident. But sometimes you find things that you really become passionate about, and that makes you grow. And when you get into those situations where you're passionate about something, you want to grow and learn and excel and get better at what you're doing and be a leader. All these kind of examples, you have to kind of learn from the leaders and learn from the people that have already been down the road of that and learn. Maybe they've learned from their mentors as well. And so, when we get back from a short little break from our sponsor, we're going to talk a lot about your circle of friends and your circle of influencers, and what road that you are going to lead. I know I've talked about the roads and the decision making that we have on a daily basis. We have literally a million decisions. They're very minute decisions. Every day, and that's gonna lead us to our daily routines and where we strive and where we actually end up each and every day. And hopefully they're good decisions that we can follow our good influencers, and we can be better people because of that. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Or not. I think my man left me. Jason's not with me right now. He's I don't see him in the bottom of the screen. So we're gonna improv. We're gonna adapt. We're gonna adjust. That's the one thing I learned in the NFL is like you got to really adjust and improvise. That was the word I was looking for. You have to improvise because things happen so fast. And when you're not prepared for them, and that's why in the NFL, here again, I'm just going off another tangent, but in the NFL, the things happen so fast, and you have to cover yourself for things that you want to make sure that you may experience. And now sometimes it could be things that you have no idea what's going to happen. Clearly, this is the first time this has happened to me, but it's okay. We're going to improvise. It's maybe a technical issue, no big deal. we're moving forward. Let's go. All right. So, going into, the circle of friends, the circle of influencers, really want to make sure that we're, clearly you understand the concept. You are who you hang out with. And a lot of people don't really take that too serious. And I'm a victim of it as well. A lot of these things I talk about are my personal experiences. When I got divorced, of course I was married early on. I was with the same girl for a long time in high school. It was a high school sweetheart. And so I got married when I was 23 years old, and had my first child when I was 23 as well. And, so I was with that same woman for quite a while. I want to say like 23 years in total. We dated for 7 years and kind of got married on our 7th-year anniversary, essentially. So I was with her for a long time. And I basically was in a position where, I was playing football, but I was married, and, a lot of single guys are in the locker room and they're sharing stories about their nights out and things like that. But of course, I'm just living vicariously through them, so I'm laughing at their jokes and their stories. Of course, it's always fun, but I never really had an opportunity to do that, clearly, because I was married. But not to say that I was wanting to. But when I got divorced, it was kind of like, I kind of want to not relive, but just kind of experience things that I wasn't really necessarily experiencing, when I was married and playing football. And so I kind of got complacent for a while, and I kind of partied a little bit, met some friends. And again, my circle of influencers, back then, my circle of friends were no, they wanted to drink a lot. Let's put it that way. I'll be like politically correct here. They wanted to go out and go to the bars. And for a long time, we take our bikes out, of course, and living in Jacksonville Beach, I'm 10 blocks from the ocean. So my beach cruiser was, I'm cruising around on the beach cruiser and bar hopping, essentially. We actually had these cruising coolers, these motorized coolers we go out on. And yes, it was a lot of fun, but I didn't grow from that experience. I just went out and partied, and there was no growth in that. And of course, we're all trying to, live our lives and earn incomes and things like that. And sometimes you get in a routine where you're going out a lot, and you're not really gaining much momentum in your career. Let's put it that way. So I caught myself a few times in that situation. Not to say that they were bad situations or anything like that. It's just, they were fun, and I really love my friends. I had nothing against them, and I'm very picky when it comes to friends. I don't want to be associated with people that are not, at least smart enough to know the difference between right and wrong. If they're always in trouble with the law, things like that. So there's a lot of things that you want to, stay away from. But I'm very respectful, and I want to make sure my friends respect me, and go from there. But my point in saying that is that, with regards to, I could have gone down a road where I caught myself in going out all the time, and I think the older we get and the more, we take life a little bit more serious. Life is short. You have to take your life, for what it's worth, and make it, good and successful, and be humble and do all the right things. Yes, there's the times for fun and things like that, but sometimes you get a little carried away. And so, how are you influenced by that? So with regards to, thinking about how we are influenced, and again, this is on a daily basis. Again, it has a lot to do with the decision making that I was referring to in a few episodes ago, that talking about, you have to know the difference between right and wrong, and you have to make decisions that are going to be beneficial for you, and not the opposite direction. So, I know I always relate to the NFL, but that's a huge part of my life and a huge part of who I am today. And getting to the NFL and just having that passion for kicking, I remember back in the day, I would hang out with my teammates, and in times when I was training on my own, or maybe I had a kicking coach that was working with me, I would hang out with him. We would always go training, and so that was my time was spent training for football instead of party. And I know that there's plenty of examples. If I had some high school friends on here watching or whatever, that maybe even middle school, that they would be walking by the park, whatever, they'd be on their way to this house party, and I'm out there on the field kicking. And I hear it all the time when I go back to Spokane and see friends I haven't seen forever. I say, man, I remember driving by Evergreen, junior high school, and seeing you out there on the football field kicking, man. And clearly it's worked for you, because you got an awesome career, and it worked out for you. So, I appreciate that because that's, that was my passion. That's what I wanted to do. And so it really is a big deal when it comes to, what it is you want to do in your life and how you want to succeed. And if you make poor decisions by hanging around people that clearly are not going to make you grow or help you grow, yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I get that because I've been there. You get complacent. You get like very, very easy. Talk about not taking life very serious at all. Man, when you're with those buddies that kind of have that attitude and that habit of going out and drinking all the time and partying a lot, you kind of find yourself in that situation again. You are who you hang out with. So it's a time where you got to really sit back and evaluate yourself and evaluate what you want to do the rest of your life and who you want to hang out with, who do you want to associate with. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, I think Jason's back now. So we're going to have a little quick word from our sponsor if he's up and alive and ready to go. And then we'll be back and we'll talk a little bit about a circle of influencers in the business mindset. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
At 3, we want to give you the true health benefits that you're paying for, something you can feel and see a difference quickly. Each product is packed with powerful plant-based nutrients that are combined through a proprietary curation process and then infused with innovative cellular absorption technologies to ensure the nutrients absorb into the cells for maximum wellness. The quality and effectiveness of our life-changing products is evident by their approval to be included in the well-known Prescriber's Digital Reference, or PDR. PDR has been a valuable resource to the medical doctors and providers in the healthcare community for decades. Our products are GMO-free, clinically studied, and third-party tested, all designed to support health and proactive wellness for everyone.
And we're back. I'm glad to see Jason. He must have had a computer glitch. He mentioned to me a while back that he wants to maybe upgrade to a Mac or an Apple. And I was like, I had that fear a long time ago, going from a desktop like Windows and like a PC to a Mac. But I'm glad I did. I don't have any computer breakdowns anymore. So glad to see you back, Jason. I appreciate it, buddy. But yeah, so let's get back into it. I was referring to, before the break, as far as getting involved in like your professional career. And you think about when you start a job, what's the first thing they do? Well, they train you, of course. They want to make sure that you understand what it is you're supposed to do and give you tips and help you with stuff. And that's really what it's all about. And no matter what industry you're involved in, that there's people that will just want to do a little bit of training or just enough training to get by. But again, you get to that point where, especially if your job is not that demanding, you have a certain amount of training that you do, and you won't really want to, get any grow any bigger and get any more knowledgeable in the industry that you're in, because maybe it has some limits, but then you grow and maybe you find another job and it has a little bit more of a challenging role for you, and you take that and run with that. But you have to have the mindset, though. You can't just expect to have minimal training at a job that's paying you a lot of money, and you have a lot of responsibilities, and their expectations of you on a daily basis are pretty high. So when you think about anything in general with regards to the businesses that I've been involved with, it's funny because in college, one of the classes I think I took it in summer school, but it was a marketing class. I'm like, what am I ever going to use this for? And so I kind of barely got by. I didn't like it. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of silly. I'm never going to be in a situation where I have to market stuff. Oh my gosh, that's all I do. And I kick myself, literally, no pun intended, but I do. I'm like, man, what was I thinking? I need to maybe go back and take some marketing classes, because I definitely have a marketing for my Kicking Academy. I'm marketing for 3 International, for the proactive wellness company that I'm in. So I'm dabbling with a lot of little things, and I've never, I think where I got spoiled in, I guess, is playing a game for 10 years of my life, getting paid very well doing it. So I thought, well, I don't want a corporate job, which I did for a little while. I had a couple jobs that I was kind of in an office and a desk. I'm like, man, I don't really like this, and I'm just being honest with you. It's just not my cup of tea, but I gotta make money somehow. And so, with my Kicking Academy, it's been going on for almost 19 years now. That keeps me out of an office. and outside, in the wildlife, in the football field. But it's limited because the market, and it's a little bit niche market, and my stuff is a little bit difficult to learn, and so I don't have a lot of kids. So I dabble with other stuff. So, but my point is, I want to be as good as I can. So I'm surround myself, with people who are leaders, who have been there before. And that's the other thing I mentioned the word humble. You have to be humble, because when you're wanting to succeed in life, and you're seeking mentorship, and you're wanting to learn and grow, well, you have to swallow your pride a little bit. Yeah, men are worse as far as the pride thing. We think we know it all. Matter of fact, right before the show, I was trying to put this. I had to give it up because I was running a little late, and so I had to jump on the show. But I was putting this shelving system up together, and I know exactly how it works. But I screwed up like 4 times, and I had to take pieces down and put pieces back up. And I was like, man, why don't I just stop for a second, humble myself, and do it the right way from the beginning? I wouldn't have to backtrack, just like that analogy that I use with the ladders going up the top of the building with the kickers. I'm showing you the right ladder. And if I just would sit down and think, okay, this is how it needs, if I need to think through it first, but I didn't. And that it cost me time. And now I'm not done. I might have been done had I not had those setbacks, but I did. So it happens on a daily basis. But my point really is with regards to, finding the mentorship and the circle of influencers that can influence you and support you in the business that you're doing and things like that. Now, with my Kicking Academy, I'm kind of solo. So I kind of have to be my own mentor. I have to but I do learn, a lot from people, and my coach, Jim Catano, is still coaching a little bit with me as well. And so we kind of definitely, I learn every time I'm with him coaching, and he's always coming up with something new, and I just love it. But, I love that possibility, that opportunity really to learn and grow. So with regards to the 3 International, it's me too. It's me and a team. Yes, it's my job, it's my business. It's I'm working for myself essentially, but I also have team members that are higher up in the business that have more experience in this industry than I do, and I've learned a lot there as well. And I still need to learn more. I still need to humble myself and get a little bit more serious about it. I catch myself taking some time off and doing other things and kind of getting complacent with it. And I see my income, not necessarily stay where it's at. In other words, it doesn't grow, and I want it to grow. So I want to definitely make sure that I'm doing the right thing and learning and listening and humbling myself with good information, because that's one thing too that people don't realize, that especially like I said, man, we want to do it all on our own, and we don't want that support. I don't say that for every man. There are guys out there that we think we can do it all, and we don't need the support. Let's put it that way. I think that whether you think you need it or not, I think it's an opportunity to learn and grow. And if because of course the people that you're hanging out with if they are wealthy individuals that have been very successful, they know how to become successful, and you'd be silly not to actually take them serious and listen to what they're saying and kind of follow suit. I've thought about like shadowing people. I think that'd be a great experience to just kind of see what they do on a daily basis. And so kind of learn their daily routine, because my daily routine sometimes gets a little, I always use the word complacent, because sometimes I catch myself that way, but I get complacent with things sometimes, and I don't know where to go from there. And so instead of picking up the phone, I just kind of try to think on what I need to do, and kind of self-taught. I've always kind of been self-taught, but I know it's a longer road. That's another point I really wanted to touch upon today, is the fact that if you want to do things on your own and are stubborn and don't want to listen to your support system and your influencers, the influencers are there for a reason. They want to influence you and guide you and direct you in things that you will become successful in. And if you don't listen to them and you take them for granted, you try to do things on your own, just like I was just talking about with the shelving system. I had to take like 4 steps backwards. I had to take shelves off because I forgot to put the ones on the bottom on. And it was like, man, it's like I'm looking at a picture. I'm like, okay, this is how it goes. Okay, good. And I just went for it, and I took a few steps backwards 4 times different times. But, with regards to just kind of learning and knowing, and if you got the directions in the proper order, that's the other thing too, is like, the mentors and the influencers are going to teach you. They're not going to teach you things that you're not prepared for yet. We talked about progression and the process of progressing. And the way that things need to go. There's certain priorities that you need to have in order to get better and grow your skills of whatever it was you're doing or is doing. So with regards to that, you want to make sure that you're really important, the things that are important to you, that you know that there's a system and there's a level and there's an order of priority. And those are things that a mentor and people, influencers, will kind of hint to you and tell you and show you. And you have to follow that. And again, if you're stubborn and you want to move forward faster than they're trying to prepare you for, again, just like the shelving system or just like kicking, you're going to have to take a few steps backwards before you can move forward because you've kind of screwed up. And again, you will learn. Believe me, I just got done saying I'm pretty much self-taught in a lot of stuff. I was talking to Jason prior to getting on the show tonight. And I was working on my website, my Zealous Wellness website. And I ran into some issues with some header pictures. They were messing everything up. And I was like, what in the heck am I doing? So again, though that whole thing I've been self-taught with, all Adobe Photoshop, all that stuff I've taught myself in. But again, it's taken me a long time because, again, I've caught myself being real stubborn and wanting to do it on my own. And don't be afraid. That's what I'm saying. Don't be afraid for help. We all need to humble ourselves and just kind of take advice. It's hard for some people to take advice, but I'm telling you from a personal experience, it definitely is wise, very important for you to understand how to take advice and to run with it, especially from your circle of influencers that you deem as very important people that are very intelligent, that are very successful. Why would you not want to learn from them? But again, there are people out there that maybe they're jealous. Maybe like, man, I want to make that kind of money. I can do this on my own. I got this, and maybe you kind of look a little bit from the outside and figure out I've had kickers who watch all my social media. They look at all my YouTube videos and say, oh man, I'm getting really good at your form. And of course, they haven't worked with me, haven't paid for anything. I do give up a lot of information, but it's my passion. I want kids to know that there's a better way of kicking. But sometimes these kids think that they can do these things just by visually seeing it. But what they don't know is there's a lot of details that, again, I told you, I always mention I'm in my opinion, a very good reverse engineer. I like to reverse engineer the process and tell you things and show you things that will help you later on in the approach. Like I want to find out the root cause of a problem. So you have to kind of backtrack and see where it actually started from. But a little off track there, but with regards to just kind of the process and learning from people that know better and that have the experience, that's where I'm going with that is like, you have to trust the people. And clearly, if there's someone that's very successful, I always refer to, again, myself as kicking, I reached the highest level of football in the world. And I was one of the top 2 kickers in the world. If you consider the Pro Bowl, me and Jason Hansen were playing against each other in that Pro Bowl. And that year, 1998 was a Pro Bowl, but the season of 1997, we were, voted the 2 best kickers in the world because, the NFL is the highest level of football in the world. So, that my point is really with regards to getting to that position of being to being that successful. I'm hoping, my hopes really are that the kids would actually, understand that I'm a mentor that knows what he's talking about. I want to teach you. I'm a good influencer when it comes to kicking mechanics and things like that. And so I really advise that. And not only from kids looking up to me and maybe, thinking about kicking and learning about kicking, but for just everybody in general, myself, including myself, if I want to take this 3 international business to a higher level, I got to be humble and I got to sit down and be, swallow my pride a little bit and do things that I'm not comfortable doing. That's another thing too, with regards to just, having the ability to really accept the knowledge and the amount of information and with the quality of the information you're getting from someone in your circle of influence. So how are these people influencing you? You want to really make sure that you're taking them serious and really moving forward with what they have to offer. And again, you have to find those people. You have to surround yourself with those people. You can't go the opposite direction. I've done that as well. I mentioned that before. It's not going to grow you anywhere. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to make you grow, and it's not going to help you succeed in life. So definitely, do your due diligence and find out, the things that make you happy and the people that have been successful at those things that you're referring to. And don't be afraid to follow directions. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. Again, I mentioned learning it on your own. It's going to take you a lot longer, probably twice the amount of time, because you probably won't be as good as what you think you will. The stubborn part of you would say, hey, I'm going to do this on my own because I have a good idea. I think this is going to work. Well, why would you reinvent a wheel? You know what I mean? Like the wheel works really good the way it is right now. Would you going to make the wheel square? Do you think it's going to work any better? Clearly, no. The wheel works really good right now, and so why would you have to reinvent it? So that's a very, very vague or very obvious answer or analogy, obviously. But you have to understand that the people have gotten to success for a reason. They were smart. Maybe they were taught things too. So it's just a revolving door when it comes to the information that you will be able to achieve and learn from these people who have been there and done that. That's one thing that you really have to admire and give respect to people who have been there and done that and are successful, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Most of those really successful people in the world, I've seen people interviewed, and they're very, very open to giving advice to anybody because they've made millions of dollars and they want to share how they did it. I can't think of anybody that I've ever seen any sort of example of a video or something where people are interviewing and they were like hush hush about their secrets to their success. I've never seen that. Usually people who are very, successful in life are very open in sharing their secrets to their success, because unless it's a competitor and they don't want you knowing what they're doing. But for the most part, where I'm going with that. It's just the people are very good, and especially the successful ones that have learned and done well for themselves. So we'll end that with that note, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next Monday night. But make sure that you find that good circle of influencing friends, your business partners, your mentors, and really lock hands with them. And don't be afraid to ask for advice, and don't be afraid to move forward with the information they're providing to you, because successful people got successful for a reason. So with that said, we'll see you guys next Monday night at 5:30. Have a great night.
Thank you for watching Zealous Wellness with Mike Hollis. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.